What's up guys, my name is Ace, and Season 3 is officially here, and with this, for Warzone, we finally saw a massive weapon balancing update. This is the biggest weapon balancing update we've seen, I believe, since well before the Cold War integration, and I gotta tell you right up front, this is looking awesome so far, based on everything I'm seeing. But in today's video, I'm going to be going through gun by gun and showing you guys exactly what changed, showing you before and after, and how this is actually going to affect the performance of each one of these guns, instead of just reading you the patch notes. I should also mention that I'm only going to be covering the changes to the base weapons. I'm not going to be diving deep into the attachment changes with this video. That's just outside the scope of this video, because I really want to be able to focus on the details of the actual weapon balancing. The attachments I can cover in a different video. So without further ado, let's just hop right into it. The first gun that they changed here was the Cold War version of the AK-47. And with this, they just changed the recoil pattern up a little bit. And as you can see, post-patch, we get a pretty much straight vertical recoil pattern now, whereas pre-patch, we had kind of a sickle shape to it, where it would kick pretty much straight up initially, and then it would cut pretty hard to the right and even downward a little bit before kicking upwards again. And while the magnitude post-patch is technically higher than pre-patch, this is a much more controllable and consistent recoil pattern, and I could really start to see the Cold War AK-47 come out to play a lot more this season, because recoil is the main thing that was holding this back. It has great stats aside from recoil, so you might want to give it a shot and see how you feel about it now. But after that, we've got the FARA 83, and this one got a buff to its recoil, and this was a very significant buff, as you can see here. They really cut down on the recoil hard with this gun, which is awesome, but alongside this buff to the recoil, they did nerf the maximum damage profile a bit. Now, the minimum damage at range, they increased from 25 to 26, so that's going to make it slightly more consistent at longer ranges, but it's mainly the maximum damage I wanted to focus on here. What they did with this is they reduced the damage from 33 down to 31. And this will change the number of shots to kill against an enemy that has full health and full armor plates. Pre-patch, this would be an 8-shot kill, and now post-patch, it's a 9-shot kill. And this increases our time to kill potential from 525 milliseconds up to 600 milliseconds. Now, to offset that, they also slightly increased the range from 20 meters up to 23 meters, which doesn't really have a massive effect. But overall, this is more of a rework to the FARA 83 rather than a straight nerf or a straight buff. It got buffed really heavily when it comes to recoil, but to compensate for that, they did reduce the max damage. So post-patch, the FARA 83 is more like a different gun rather than a straight up better or straight up worse gun. Now, moving on to the nerfs that we've all been waiting for quite a long time, this is the FFAR. And what they did here is they decreased the maximum damage from 30 down to 27, and they also eliminated the upper torso damage multiplier. So now it's going to be 27 damage to the entire body. This means against 1 or 2 armor plates, it's now going to take you an extra shot to kill, and against 3 armor plates and full health, it's going to take you 2 extra shots to kill against an enemy player. This increases our 3-plate time to kill potential from 462 milliseconds, which was insanely fast, up to 594 milliseconds, which is still a very competitive time to kill. Now, additionally, with the FFAR, they reduced the range from 35 meters down to 30 meters, which was great, and they also slowed down the aim-down sight time a little bit. Pre-patch, it was 300 milliseconds, and post-patch, your aim-down sight time is now 317 milliseconds. Overall, I'm extremely happy to see these changes. I think these are great changes that don't completely destroy the FFAR, but it brings it much more in line with the other guns, and it eliminates that near instant time to kill potential. Now, my big concern with them nerfing the FFAR is that they wouldn't touch the Groza, and then the Groza would just take its place, but it looks like they were actually prepared for this, and they nerfed the Groza a bit as well to make sure that it didn't just replace the FFAR. And with this, the first thing they did is increase the recoil, which we can see here, there's definitely a very noticeable increase to your recoil, so this thing isn't going to be very effective at longer ranges. It's really going to be limited to close to mid-range. But on top of this, they also slightly reduced the aim-down sight speed from 234 milliseconds down to 250 milliseconds. Keep in mind, this is still noticeably faster than most of the assault rifles in this game. And they also pretty significantly reduced the upper torso damage from 36 down to 30. What this means is against no armor plates, it's now going to be a 4-shot kill rather than a 3-shot kill. Against 2 armor plates, it's now going to take you 7 shots to kill instead of 6. And against 3 armor plates, it's going to take 9 shots to kill instead of 7, assuming all the shots are hitting the upper torso. And this slows our time to kill potential down to 640 milliseconds, which is awesome to see that they're doing this across the board, and they actually covered their bases with this update. And this brings us to the next assault rifle that was changed, and this is the Krig 6. And what they did here is they increased the headshot multiplier from 1.4 to 1.5, which is a nice increase. But the main thing they did to the Krig here is they increased the entire torso damage to 33, up from 30. Pre-patch, there was no torso damage multiplier at all. Now we get a 33 damage to the torso, and keep in mind, this isn't just upper torso like with most assault rifles, this is the entire torso, so it's very forgiving when it comes to this damage. And with this 33 damage potential, this only changes the number of shots to kill against 3 armor plates, but it cuts it down to 8 shots to kill, which reduces our time to kill from 736 milliseconds down to 644. And when you combine this with the accuracy of the Krig, we very well may be seeing a new meta gun emerge at this point. It is still early on to say for sure, and I've still got a lot of analysis to do, but the Krig is looking very promising for Season 3. But next up we have the QBZ. This one got some love as well. The first thing they did with this is the base movement speed was increased from 4.8 meters per second up to 4.96 meters per second, which is about a 3.5% increase, which is actually quite noticeable. This is a very fast moving assault rifle when it comes to Warzone. Additionally, the aim down sight movement speed, this was increased from 2.51 meters per second up to 2.95 meters per second, which is about a 17% increase to our aim down sight movement speed, which again is really fast for an assault rifle, and this really defines the QBZ as a high mobility assault rifle. In addition to this, they gave the QBZ an upper torso damage multiplier now, so pre-patch we dealt 28 damage anywhere to the body, now we deal 30 damage to the upper torso, which means as long as we're hitting upper torso shots, you'll be killing 1 shot faster against 1 armor plate or 2 armor plates, but it's still going to take you the same number of shots to kill when the enemy has 3 armor plates equipped. Having said that, if the enemy does have 3 armor plates, now it only takes 1 single headshot mixed in with body shots to reduce the number of shots to kill down to 8, which will give us a time to kill potential of 617 milliseconds. So while the base time to kill isn't great with the QBZ, if you're accurate enough to land just 1 headshot mixed in with those upper torso shots, then you do get a fairly competitive time to kill. But that covers it for the assault rifle changes. Now let's move on to SMGs, and the first thing they did is with the LC-10, they slightly increased the bullet velocity from 365 meters per second up to about 400 meters per second. So not a massive change by any means, but it'll make this a little bit more effective at range. Then when it comes to the MAC-10, they slightly nerfed this. They reduced its damage by 1 point. And this might seem insignificant, but it actually changes the performance of this gun quite a bit. You can see here, it's going to take you 1 extra shot to kill, regardless of which number of armor plates they have equipped, as long as it's a full armor plate, not a partial armor plate that's equipped. But you can see the key here is our 3-plate time to kill is slowed down from 486 milliseconds, which is extremely fast, down to 540 milliseconds, which is still a very fast and very competitive time to kill, but it's no longer that sort of clear winner when it comes to time to kill potential against other SMGs. But that's it for SMG changes. Now let's move on to sniper rifles, and the only change here is with the Pellington. They improved the aim down sight speed. I believe pre-patch it was 500 milliseconds. I can't seem to find my pre-patch testing on this. It's buried away somewhere. I believe it was about 500 milliseconds, and now it is 450 milliseconds, which means this is now going to be much more in line with like a Kar 98. So this is now more clearly defined as that faster, snappier sniper rifle. And they also improved the raise time a little bit, which means when you're swapping from a different gun to the Pellington, you're going to get your Pellington up a little bit faster. But finally, for weapon balancing changes here, the Cold War burst rifles were nerfed pretty noticeably here. What they did with the AUG is they increased the burst delay by 33%. So this is going to be far less forgiving. You really have to be precise with those bursts, and if you're missing, you're going to be punished quite a bit for that. On top of this, they reduced the neck damage multiplier from 1.8 down to 1.3. I don't think this is really going to severely impact the effectiveness of this gun, since that neck damage area is tiny. As for the M16, they also nerfed the burst delay, but not quite as much as with the AUG. They only increased the burst delay by 10%, and they once again nerfed that neck damage multiplier from 1.8 down to 1.1 with the M16. So overall, it looks like they've really nerfed the effectiveness of the burst guns, and that covers it for all of the weapon balancing changes that we saw for Warzone. With this update, they also mentioned at the very end they're going to be keeping a close eye on the AMAX, and I'm glad they mentioned this because I was going to mention it at the end of this video if that wasn't in the notes. The AMAX is likely going to be that top tier gun, at least for a while right now, and we'll just have to wait and see if they nerf that in the future. But that pretty much covers it here. As far as my thoughts on this update, I think this is the best weapon balancing update I've seen in Call of Duty for a very long time. I don't know if they hired somebody new over at Raven or if they just really started listening to the community, but it seems like they actually know what's going on with these patch notes for once. Not only did they make great changes that make sense, and the general time to kill potential has been slowed down again in Warzone, but also the patch notes themselves were very detailed, and they actually provided reasoning for why they were changing certain things, and I hope this is going to be the new standard going forward. I've been quite harsh on Warzone for the past season, but I gotta give credit here to Raven. They did an amazing job with this weapon balancing update. That's not to say that weapon balance is going to be absolutely flawless now, but this update is a massive step in the right direction. The overall general time to kill of the game will now be a little bit slower, and therefore there's going to be more time to react, and the overall skill gap is going to be increasing again, which is excellent news. I'm very excited for Season 3 after this weapon balancing updates. But those are just my thoughts. I'd like to know in the comment section below, what did you guys think of this weapon balancing for Warzone? Do you think this was enough, or do you wish there were some more weapons that were included with this weapon balancing? Just let me know those thoughts down below. If you enjoyed the video, a like rating is always appreciated. And don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.